Okay, so today I'm going to try to show how to install OpenWrt and RTL-TCP on a used router. So we have here is I have just got this router. I bought this router about a week ago off of Craigslist for about 20 bucks. This is actually one of my favorite ones, these EA 3500s, because they can specifically hold OpenWrt. And the first thing I usually do when I get them, oh, and they have the USB port too, is you have to do the factory reset at the bottom, and I'll reset them just to erase all the default values. And then do a little research. One of the pages I go to is wikidevy.com, and most of the searches I do, I don't have to usually type in the brand name, such like Cisco Linksys or TP-Link. Just typing in the model number, so it's EA 3500, will usually bring up the results I need. I'm going to give you a lot of statistics, not statistics, but technical information about the router. Usually if it can support third-party firmware, it will have it on this page. I've seen a lot of routers that can support third-party firmware that don't have the information on the page. And it will give you a lot of information about what chipsets it's using and such. Most importantly, we're interested in the default login and the default login password here in a minute. So it should be admin and this default IP address. And we're going to change this down the road. We don't want to use this 192.168. And so there'll be a little bit of mild networking throughout this. And the goal is to get this just used router about 20 bucks. I can usually get them cheaper, anywhere from 5, 10, 15 with the USB support over there. And the idea is to kind of sync it to my my home router. So we're just going to assume that everybody that's watching has a general, decent home router like that, home Wi-Fi router. And we're going to try to connect this to the home router and try to get the optimal speeds for RTL-TCP. And this video will be over 20 minutes. I know that much for sure. And then usually the other thing I will search, most importantly, is just the model number again, that EA 3500. And OpenWrt. And that will give me more information on if it's supported. And most decent routers will have their wiki page on the OpenWrt website. And you really kind of have to read through this. It's kind of user friendly, but trying to figure out which firmware image you need is kind of hard. You can build your own, but they have their own on here, and they usually will say what version you should have. So here they're recommending the trunk version, and finding the link for it will usually be there was a link for it down here. Where did I get? Oh, right here, this factory.bin. You're usually looking for a .bin file, a binary file for the firmware. And if I were to click this, so these are the downloadable links. If I were to click this, this would save this, and I've already saved it. And then also, if I go back to my Google wizards, there'll usually be a tech data page for most routers, which is just kind of like a brief summary of the architecture, whether it's ARM or MIPS, the chipset, and usually there will be a firmware OpenWrt install URL. This is what I'll usually use to get the firmware. So here's all the links for the 3500. I'm not sure exactly which one I would get for a fresh install to just use this Chaos Comma version, but I just followed what they said and just used the most current trunk version. So as I did, I downloaded this factory.bin, and as it says, for installing from Linksys factory firmware, which we are, and that's it. So this computer you're looking at right now, this is connected to the internet and such. And I switch over to this laptop, and this is not connected to the internet, and it does have one Ethernet cord, and this cord will get plugged into this, as you can can see I'm in airplane mode, and I've already downloaded that the firmware for this router. It's this Linksys Audi squash fs factory.bin file. So that being the case, it should be somewhat simple. Getting OpenWrt onto these routers has usually been pretty easy for me. So now what I'm doing is, so this laptop's not connected to the internet, this router's not connected to the internet. All I've done is turned it on and factory reset it. And then I'm taking this Ethernet cord that's connected to this this laptop, and I'm plugging it into one of these 1, 2, 3, 4 ports, not the internet port, the 1, 2, 3. And what it should do is it will assign an IP address to this laptop that should be in the 192.168.1 range. So getting an Ethernet connection. So right now I'm running Linux, and you'll see me use ifconfig. I think in Windows you do I can't remember what it is. I think it's like ipconfig in Windows. But everything I'm doing so far, I'll be doing some SSHing and maybe telnetting from this Linux. But if you're on Windows, all you have to do is just download PuTTY if you want to SSH and telnet. And you will have to SSH into the router. So you have to download PuTTY if you're going to use Windows. And as we can see here, this laptop was given an address of 192.168.1.108. But we're interested in the router itself. So if I open up a web page, and according to Wikidata, and just from experience, most routers will be at the address of 192.168.1.1. And this will be going to tell me this router is not set up, etc. I understand. Continue. Still waiting. I think right now the router's trying to make an internet connection. Yeah, no internet connection. You don't care if you want to log in. I know that the default is admin. And so most of these administration pages will usually have a setting somewhere to upgrade the firmware. Usually they're expecting you to let's see here, we'll try connectivity. Usually they will oh, there it is, firmware update. Just check for updates. So we want to do a manual, and we're going to do a choose file, and I just need that Audi that I had. This is the one that OpenWrt wants me to put on this particular router, and we will do start. Click yes with the warning, and we can say bye-bye Linksys firmware and hello OpenWrt firmware. There are other routers out there where this method via the web interface and the admin page will not work. You have to use other methods that where you kind of have to like jack into the board. Most routers I get, I haven't done it to this one. And most people that do that with hobbyist stuff with these routers will. When they get the router, so this is the TP link, I will go into the board, let's see here, and get this go into the serial console and solder the wires in there. So every router I have usually has about these 3 wires coming out of it. And you just need a little serial cable. They're pretty cheap, like 15 bucks. Very valuable as far as like their use. And then I think this web page will be completely stuck. So what I need to do is, because this still thinks that this Linksys stuff is running, clear all that out, everything. And then if I try to open WRT defaults to this 192.168.1 also. If I try to go now, one will say there's a problem loading page. So this is where we have to start getting back into so I still have that 108 address. So this thing is up and running. If I do a quick port scan of the router, it should show me that the telnet's up. I know that should be up, and SSH maybe. But to activate SSH, you have to telnet in first and pick a password for the router. If this takes too long, I'm going to stop it. I am. And I have not powered off or powered on the router yet. They sometimes suggest you, turn it off, turn it on after I did this. But I will try. So we'll see if we can get a new, if it will give us a new IP address. So I'm rebooting it right now. Router is rebooting. Little power light is blinking. Still blinking. No laptop requiring network connection. No IP address yet. Oh, okay. Now we're connected. Now I'm trying to telnet again. Not a success. We will try SSH with username root. Oh, so from previous SSH sessions, I have other keys that have got to go. Sorry. So now we'll attempt the SSH again. And voila. So we don't telnet, we just have to SSH. So if you're using PuTTY, the username would be root and the password would be blank. So the first thing we want to do is set the password. New password. See, it doesn't even ask for the old one. There we go. So I think if I SSH in again, it should be asking for the password. Yep. So the first thing I do, now we are at the command line, the Linux command line of OpenWrt, so we're basically at the command line of the router. The first thing I will do is I will usually go to the etc directory. From here, Actually, I want the etc config directory. So now we go into the config directory, and the files that we're mostly interested in will be wireless and network. So first of all, I'm going to edit network. And the first thing I'm going to do is this router, as was said, defaults to this 192.168.1.1. Well, I'm going to connect this router to my home router, you know, but this home router uses the exact same IP addresses, the 192.168.1. So we want our routers, this is going to make a little subnet, a little net that's like separate somewhat than our network. So the way to explain it, we're going to be doing it over Wi-Fi, but if I were to be doing it over wiring, this internet port here would get connected to the home router. On this home router, the internet port is connected to the cable modem. So the cable modem gives this home router this, you know, kind of crazy IP address. You know, it'll be like 98 point something, which is its internet IP address, which is what all the websites all over the internet see, is that IP address that the cable modem has, but is assigned to this Wi-Fi router. And then anything that connects to this home Wi-Fi router inside this house, like phones and such, will get an IP address that says 192.168.1 dot whatever. So this laptop is 108, stuff like that. This router, when it connects to the internet, if I were to take this cord, this internet cord, and connect it to this home router, this internet address, it would think that it would get a 192.168.1 address, and it would think that that's its internet address. And then anything that connects to this, to these other side things that are part of the subnet, have to have a different kind of masking than what my home router does. So I usually go in here and I change this, and the simplest way to change it is I'm using Vim right now, and to edit, and you have to do I to insert. And one thing I'll change, and you can do this through the GUI too, but we have to get an internet connection first. And I need to, most people just change that to a 2. And I can do that also. I'll change that to a 2. So that means everything will get separate. Everything will get an address of 192.168.2 dot, etc. Dot 1 will be the router. So I have to give everything that. And then what it's also expecting is the WAN interface, which is right here. This is WAN. That basically just means like the internet. And then LAN is your internal network. Now, what this network file thinks is that the internet connection is going to be coming in through this port marked internet. We want to change that. The internet connection, because our internet connection is the connection that it's going to have to the home router. Home router is already connected to the internet, stuff like that. So instead of connecting through that internet port, we're going to connect through the Wi-Fi port. And I think on this model, there's 2 Wi-Fis. So F1 stands for Ethernet. It thinks that that's going to connect. But we want to use wireless LAN. And I think the first one, there's the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. I think 2.4 gigahertz is 0. And we want to do the same thing with the IPv6 and change that to WLAN 0 also. So now I know I won't have any, then I hit escape, and then colon, and WQ for write quit. So now I know why that the network is kind of set up okay, and I won't have any IP address issues when I connect to the home router. Now I need to set up the wireless. And the first thing you need to know is that the wireless is disabled when you first install OpenWrt. So we have to change this option disabled. I've hit the I button for insert. So we're in insert mode in Vim. Change that to 0. The channel is irrelevant, so we can comment that out. Most people should be using, I would say, like N-speed Wi-Fi routers, so we don't need to change the hardware mode. We don't need to change the HT mode either. We do need to change this. So, this radio 0 isn't going to be connected to the LAN anymore, it should be connected to the WAN. It's not going to be an access point anymore, it's going to be a station, it's on a client. The name of my home network is OpenWrt, at the moment, just for this example purposes. My home network's Wi-Fi network is called OpenWrt Harms. The encryption is PSK2. And should be key. And the key will be secret password. And I'm going to do the same thing for the 5 gigahertz, which is down here, but I'm not going to enable it yet. We're going to see if we can get 2.4 up. So I'm just commenting out the channel, and again switching this to LAN and station mode. And my 5 gigahertz channel is named OpenWrt 5 gigahertz. And again, just PSK. And again, the secret password. So I press escape, colon, right quit. When I do that right quit, it will show up here on the bottom left. So when I click I, it does insert, and I can backspace and edit. To get out, press escape, and then colon, and the WQ right there in the lower left, enter, and that should be it. This should hopefully, we'll reboot it, the router, give it a few seconds, going on 22 minutes here. And now when I connect into the router, I should be able to ping Google and get a connection. And then we can start using a program called it's a package manager, opkg. So, are we getting the connection yet? Still connecting, the lights are still blinking on the router, they're not blinking anymore. We'll try this now. Nope, still unreachable. Oh, there we go. Now we'll SSH again, it should hopefully work. Oh, change the key again. Actually, what I need to do is do this, get rid of that key, and I have to do it for this. I just made a mistake. The router should be at, when I try to SSH, I was trying to go into 192.168.1. It's now at 2 now. As in, because before this laptop was being assigned an address, now it's being assigned a new address of this 192.168.2 154. So now when we SSH in, we have to change this to a 2. Yes, do our password. And now we should hopefully be able to have an internet connection. Yeah, we do. So, the first thing you do, the program is called, I call it opkg, but opkg. the first thing you want to have it do is update. Anytime you run this, you have to update it first. I'll probably cut this video short. I'm going to show how to install, just get it set up and get the RTL libraries installed. And then to run RTL-TCP, that'll be another video because you do a lot of trial and error with the network. So I have that also, it's been updated. The first thing we want to install is something called luci. So we do opkg install, and it's called luci, L-U-C-I. And what it is it's the graphical interface, you know, the web page, the administration page that you would find if you went to the 192.168.2.1. And once that GUI is installed, the steps that I just showed you, if my home network's IP addresses were different, I could have just taken this router and directly plugged it in. I could have just taken this router and plugged it into the cable modem and just unplugged my home router and then installed luci. But now that luci is installed, I'll clear that. If I go back to my web browser, before when I tried to go to the router's homepage, it threw up an error because it had no homepage. But now that I've installed luci, luci should be running, I hope now. So I'm going, it will bring up this page. So you type in the same password that you chose for your SSH. For your root account. So, and voila. And so if I go to, like, you'll have all these information like wireless, and this it will say who I'm connected to, and that I'm a client instead of an access point right now. And further on down the road, when we start to work with RTL-TCP and do the speeds, I like the graphical interface. I like using the graphical interface. The only time I really use it is when I want to work with the firewall. And you will have to adjust the firewall and do some port forwards and traffic rules to let certain traffic get to the RTL. So going back to the router, the command line. So that's all installed. So I got luci installed. And then to see a list of all the packages, I think it's just opkg.list. So I'll do a clear again, opkg list. You get this huge list, so I'll clear again. And now I will, boom, run it through grep and search for RTL. And there. So now I can do an opkg install. And the RTL, so we have these different modules for different RTLs. We want this, oh, we want this also. So just RTL-SDR. And so now, so like RTL-FM is already installed now, which RTL-TCP. RTL-TCP is installed now, and they're in the default like binary usage directories, whatever you want to call them, so I can just run them without having to give the whole path. So if I do RTL-TCP-H, I will get that connection. So there, so that's it. I've got OpenWrt on there. In order to run it, you will have to SSH into it, into the command line, to get to these, to be able to run this RTL stuff. If I were to plug an RTL into it right now, I can do it. So gmessage just shows the kernel log, and let's see if I got an RTL. Let's see around. So here's a quick one right here, and I will plug it into the router's USB. Just a second. Shut, just like that. And now when I run dmessage, you'll see a few more lines at the end of the log. So it's saying USB device detected. And I think that if I run just RTL TCP, yeah, so it found the device. If I just run it, and there it's just running all the default parameters and such. So yeah, so basically that's how you install the stuff on here. And then the two big things is just getting the network changed, setting the wireless so that you become a client instead of a station, and then getting the luci installed and the RTL-SDR libraries installed. Another cool thing, just for the fun of it, opkg list, and then I will do a shift grep. Grep just searches. We're going to search for the word dump. And fancy that, you have dump 1090 on here also. Dump 1090. So if you want to listen to the airplanes, you can do that right from the router. So this is how to install everything. So I'm going to do another video about how to get the RTL TCP speeds up to par. But this is how to do everything. It's pretty simple. So it basically just took me about 15 minutes, but double the time because I had to explain everything. And every once in a while, what do we got here? An error? It's just a configuration error. Which dump 1090. Yep. And if I do dump 1090 H, we should get some help parameters. Yeah, there you have it. So in my next video, it will just be a continuation of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to install something called iperf, and that's how I determine my network speeds. So you'll need to install something called iperf. If you're using Windows, I think there's a program called netperf that you can use. That's what we're using. And I'll try to get the speeds for RTL TCP for this connected with my home router so that we can get optimum speed so that we can just stream whatever we want through this RTL right here. So yeah, thanks for watching. And it is possible, if you watch my previous videos for the NOAA satellites, I'm able to get the speeds. For that, I wasn't through my home router. That was just used router to use router. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll try to get that up as quick as I can. Thanks again.